What's going on? A to Z Sports. Sam Phelan here with you for Titans at 2, recapping the latest press conference that took place at St. Thomas Sports Park with your Tennessee Titans, who are a disaster, folks. The Titans are at 1-5. They drop another game in blowout fashion to the Buffalo Bills over at Highmark Stadium in Orchard Park. And, things right now are in a bit of an identity crisis, is probably the easiest way to describe it for the Titans. We know this team is not good. We know that the Titans have a lot to improve on. We know that, 2024 is not going to be a competitive season for them at this point. All of that we're able to deduce. And yet still some of the questions that we raise are about why. Exactly what has gone wrong for a team that won 6 games in 2023, was top 3 in the NFL in free agent spending, seemingly did a very good job in the NFL draft because 3 of their top draft picks are successful players, and yet the roster appears to have gotten worse. Is it on the players? Is it on the general manager? Is it on the coaching staff? All of this is now up for grabs and up for discussion. Today at St. Thomas Sports Park, Nick Vannett, tight end for the Titans, spoke. Linebacker Kenneth Murray spoke. And of course, head coach Brian Callahan spoke to the media to recap Sunday's loss and really deliver a bit of a state of the union about where exactly this organization is right now. And specifically with Nick Vannett speaking, not exactly the guy that we expected to have a ton of highlight content, in his media appearance, but there was. Vannett brought up a couple of things that I think raised a few red flags for me and a number of members of the Titans media crew, calling into question maybe the leadership within the players on this team, maybe the leadership of this coaching staff, and some of the coaching decisions. I'll show you what Nick Vannett said today. We're going to go over what Brian Callahan had to say in response, and then figure out where everybody's feeling now with the team at 1-5 and where they go moving forward. Before we dive into all of it, going to tell you guys about my friends over at Lipscomb and their sports analytics program, because they're powering today's Titans at 2. Lipscomb Sport Analytics, where data meets the game, and you can analyze, strategize, and revolutionize by turning your passion into profession and going beyond the box score. Get off the sidelines and into the action with Lipscomb's sports analytics program, where you will learn to make the calls that count. Lipscomb University's sports analytics program is turning fans into data-driven decision makers in the exciting world of professional athletics. Again, turning passion into profession. I did just that at Lipscomb. I attended Lipscomb and turned my love of sports into a job that allows me to cover the Titans and bring you guys all of this content every week, and you can do the same. So go to Lipscomb, where they're not just watching the game, but they're changing how it's played with their innovative sports analytics program. Okay, let's hear from Nick Vannett, the tight end of the Titans. And this is a little bit of a back and forth he had with Nick Suss of the Tennessean and myself about an interesting comment he made regarding the sideline, the Titans sideline during the game. And, we've seen how the Titans have failed to perform in the second half, is probably putting it lightly. They've been atrocious in the second half of pretty much every game they've played this season. Vannett thinks it has something to do with the energy that the Titans are bringing to the game with them in the second half.
Stay connected. I've been on teams in the past where as soon as things go bad, you can kind of feel the energy on the sideline go flat. And as soon as that happens, it's really hard to bring it back up. It's really hard to go out there and try to overcome that adversity. And so I think we just need to do a better job of mentally staying tough through those moments and just staying connected and just believing that we're going to get this ball back and we're going to go downfield and score and get right back in this game. And I think it takes everybody to believe that. But it's easier said than done, and we just have to practice that. And I think it's more of a mental thing at this point.
To be clear, are you seeing signs of that checking out yet? When you say people on the sideline are kind of dipping the energy, are you seeing that at all, or is that?
It's not anyone individually. It's just as a unit. It just seems like things are just, it's just getting flat. It's different from how it is in the first half. The first half when we're playing well, things are great, energy's there, and as soon as things slowly start to turn, that's when we got to ramp it up. Is all I'm trying to say. That's where we have to really buckle down and just go to war. And so we just got to practice that and be better with that. It's not easy. Every team goes through it. The good ones are able to go past it. And so that's what it takes, and we just have to practice that. And I'm going to keep preaching that.
Is there a difference, I guess, in the teams that have done that well in your career that you've seen? Like, where does that start versus where I guess this team is right now? That you guys can get back to a sideline that's positive and energetic throughout the whole game.
Yeah, from my experience, it takes like really great leadership from the players. It can't be on the coaches. It's got to start from the core. It's got to start from the players, and you gotta have multiple guys being involved with that. So that's why I always say the most important play is the next play. Good or bad, whatever happened in the past doesn't matter. You just got to move forward. It's a long game. Good things are going to happen, bad things are going to happen. And so I try to preach that to the whole offense. And I just speak from experience because I've been on teams that have done really well with that, been on teams that haven't done well with that. And the ones that do well are the ones that, go to the playoffs and have a great season. So I just try to do what I can with my expertise and my experience to try to help out in that area, and I'm going to continue to do that.
Pretty concerning stuff from Vanette there. Says there is a very clear, palpable difference between the energy on the Titans sideline in the first half when the team is playing well and the second half when things start to go poorly. He said you can sort of feel things spiral. And in the case of, Sunday's game against the Bills, you come out, you start to drive on the first drive of the second half. You're leading 10-7. You get stopped on fourth down and short, turn the ball over. The Bills go down and score a touchdown. And all of a sudden, it feels like the momentum has shifted over to the Buffalo sidelines after the Titans really dominated that first half of football. And Vanette very clearly is talking about this feeling that, oh boy, here we go again, that athletes can get. And how good teams in his career have found a way to stay positive and energetic and really, bear down at some of those difficult moments. The Titans don't do that, according to what Vanette has seen. He believes it starts with leadership among the players. He wouldn't call out specifically which players need to take leadership, but I don't think it's that hard to really realize that some of these guys are off sitting by themselves on the sideline. Some of these guys are getting down when things aren't going well. This doesn't have the vibe of a team that is confident they can come back and win a game no matter what. It's like they're waiting for something to go wrong. And as soon as they fall behind, they lose any and all hope that they can get back into it. I asked Brian Callahan his thoughts on the Titans sideline. He feels like it's been good, but still something they can be better about.
Something we need to keep getting better at. I think our sideline's been good. Our guys are focused. They play hard. We've gotten in some spots where something bad has happened. Where we've lost the lead in the fourth quarter. We haven't, we put our defense in a tough spot, or we give up an explosive play on defense, and it just sort of starts to spiral, and we have to find our way out of that. Have to do a better job of eliminating those plays when they happen, and then having the mentality of, when something goes bad, we got to bow up, and whatever phase it is, it's all three phases that have had those problems, and almost you got to take the challenge of, all right, our team needs us in this spot. We got to bow up, and we got to do a better job of doing that, and that's how you win and lose games in the fourth quarter. I mean, all these games around the league come down to a possession or two, and we've been in a few of them this year. Obviously, this one wasn't it, but those moments in the game where you have to tighten down all of the things that are happening and really rally. We got to find a better way. We got to do a better job of doing that.
This team is not rallying, and as much as Vanette would like to say it's on the players, I do agree to some extent. You have to have leaders in the locker room. This is also on coaching and in the messaging from your coaching. And really, it points to a lot of concern because it points to organizational failure as a whole. I mean, what is one thing we've heard from Rand Carthon and this Titans regime throughout the last year or so? That it's all about getting the right guys in the building. They've tried to find good character guys and leaders and guys who buy into this process. And that process should result in more guys who are able to rally, who are able to stay positive, who know what it takes to win. And yet we're not seeing that on the field. Another really concerning part, Vanette said, exactly what X's and O's wise isn't clicking for the Titans offense. He says in the second half, teams bring a lot of pressure at them. He brought up that, hey, they bring more pressure than usual. It's stuff that we haven't seen on tape. It's stuff we're not prepared for. It's stuff we haven't practiced for. I think by now the Titans should probably realize your offensive line is a problem, specifically the right tackle spot. You don't pass protect all that well. And because you don't pass protect well, and, you really don't have much of a downfield drop back passing game, teams are going to come after you. They're going to try and get your quarterback. They're bringing pressure that is not necessarily their traditional defensive looks. And the fact that the Titans aren't practicing for those things is a real concern for me. Like that shows, and I'll go ahead and get into Brian Callahan's comments on this, but Callahan says, look, we prepare for what we see on tape and teams' tendencies. What you have to understand is that you are a tendency breaker. The Titans are a tendency breaker. Teams deviate from their traditional game plan when they play the Titans because they know where the exposed weaknesses and flaws are. And so they target that. Nick Vanette says the Titans have not practiced for those things, and so often it catches them off guard. He also said that in the first half of games, it's the looks that the Titans are expecting, and in those games, they play well. But that, more often than not, they go into halftime, the opponent makes adjustments, the Titans come back off on their heels, not expecting to get the looks that they get. That's an indictment on coaching. That's about as bad of an endorsement from a player, and not even intentionally. This is not Nick Vanette throwing his coaches under the bus, but as he talks about what's going wrong for his team, it's hard to not look at the coaching staff and feel like this team is wildly unprepared. I asked Brian Callahan about the week of practice and about how the Titans exactly prep for pressure. Here's what the head coach said.
Sure. I mean, you don't, some of those things you don't necessarily have a dial in that's what's going to be the game plan, and sometimes and then show up. Those things start to happen. We pressure plenty in practice, but you're limited in the amount of practice reps you get, and so you try to practice what the numbers will bear out, what their fronts are, what their primary coverage looks are, what the core of what they do. So you try to get those looks in, and then you watch as much film and teach off that as best you can. So certainly we'll be introducing more pressure looks because it's a copycat league and teams do what works when they see it on tape. So we'll do a better job of introducing that stuff. We've done some of it, but obviously, we got to do more of it.
Are you thinking that some of the teams bringing more pressure, maybe going away from the looks you've seen on tape, is because they've seen how you guys have handled pressure, I guess, and it's a specific look you guys are getting?
It's probably a combination of all that, yeah. I mean, it's, again, if teams see what has success and they copy it. And we're aware of all those things, but that's what the NFL does, and we've got to do a better job of handling those issues when they come up.
Can you talk us through what?
He is right on that regard. It is a copycat league. Teams are going to do what works, and they have now seen on tape through 7 weeks and 6 games that bringing pressure against the Tennessee Titans works. Brian Callahan has to adjust. This coaching staff has to adjust. Callahan did talk today in the press conference about how year ones in his coaching career have typically been a little bit of a learning process. In Cincinnati, year one was awful for that coaching staff, with, Brian Callahan as the offensive coordinator and Zach Taylor as the head coach. So there is time for this group to respond, but where things are trending right now, it is not promising for the Titans moving forward. It's not promising for the staff. It's not promising for the front office. I don't think Amy Adams-Strunk is going to remain super patient long term if there are not adjustments and results made. So, we're still not even halfway through the season. I am trying to remain as patient as possible, and I would encourage all of you to remain as patient as possible with this coaching staff as you can. But as of right now, things are not looking promising for the Titans. And unless they can find answers to pressure, unless they can, figure out how to get their team better prepared for the defensive looks that are going to be thrown at them, this offense is not getting fixed anytime soon. And for all the money they spent on this team, for all the adjustments that they made, to have an offense performing worse than it did last year with an injured Ryan Tannehill, rookie Will Levis, a defensive head coach in Mike Vrabel, and Tim Kelly as the play caller, a lot has gone wrong for the Titans. Where do they go from here? Have to wait and find out. Titans, have another difficult game coming up on the road against the Detroit Lions. It's not getting any easier. As a matter of fact, it might get ugly, ugly, ugly real soon. That's all I got for you today on Titans at 2. Stay tuned for A to Z Sports Primetime on Tuesday night, as I'll come back to you with a more extensive look at what's next for the Titans, and keep it locked on AtoZSports.com for more Titans coverage from myself, Easton Freeze, Buck Rising, and tune into the A to Z Sports Morning Show with Austin Stanley will host with a plethora of co-hosts to get all of your thoughts and interact with the Titans fan base out there about this organization and where we're at moving forward. Thank you to Lipscomb Sports Analytics for helping today happen. Once again, go check out the Lipscomb Sports Analytics department to turn your passion into profession here in Nashville at Lipscomb University. Till next time, tighten up. I'll see you later.